Okay, great. So my name's Michaela. I am the organizer of this campaign in current housing at CRAE. This is a campaign that is supported by Trust for London and is facilitated by the Children's Rights Alliance for England, which are based as part of Just for Kids Law. If you wouldn't mind just putting into the chat your name and your role and organisation that you're coming from, that would be great. Joining me on this presentation is my colleague, Elsa.
Hi, yeah, I'm Elsa. I'm the Policy and Public Affairs Officer at CRAE, at Children's Rights Alliance for England. So I'll be working closely with Michaela on this project and giving a sort of policy perspective on this work.
Yeah, thank you. So a bit of a run through of the format of this presentation. So we'll speak for around about 20 minutes and just run through a bit about the background of this campaign, how it came about it to be in existence, who can join the campaign, what campaigning looks like at CRAE, some of the benefits and supports for young people who are interested in joining, the options for engagement, and then we'll give a bit of a background on what our policy priorities in this area of work are, and what we've done so far, and a bit of a rough timeline for the next couple of months of the campaign, and then how people can get involved for next steps. Thank you very much for putting into the chat. It's lovely to see you all. So, why current housing campaign? So a bit of a background on what we know to be true through our casework at Just for Kids Law and through our policy research at CRAE as well. We know that a third of care leavers experience homelessness in the first 2 years immediately after leaving care. Obviously, in the wake of the pandemic and the increase on cost of living and the economic stress on young people, and the ramping up of austerity measures and a lot of support systems being stripped back for these young people in particular, that's figure set to increase in the very near future. We also know that care leavers' views and experiences are often missing from policy decisions, which directly impact on them. And we know that we value young people who have this lived experience as experts by experience. So change really should be led by them, and that their voices and their experience should be at the forefront of policy change that needs to happen. So who can join this campaign? So this campaign is open for 16 to 25-year-olds who are based in London and who have experience of social care systems or contact with social services and experience of housing and homelessness issues. Now, while we give that as our criteria, we're very well aware that these definitions are quite complex, and that for a lot of young people, it actually takes quite a lot to gain the status of being a care experienced young person, and often that's part of the problem as to why they don't get the rights and entitlements that they should. So we welcome young people to define what care experience is for them. And if young people have had any contact with social services, we invite them to join the campaign. We're also offering to support young people and organisations in defining if the young person is eligible through this experience too, because for some young people, if they have never been open to the services and supports because of their lack of status as being a care experienced young person, they may not even define it as such themselves.
Yes, welcome back.
Sorry, I'm just going to pop you on mute. Perfect, thank you. And the same goes as well for where young people are based. So we're very aware that with lived care experience comes precarious housing situations, and often moving around different boroughs within London, or at times even out of London. And as we go on in the presentation, I'll explain the options of engagement, and that some of that could be done virtually as well to offer the campaign to young people who maybe can't physically come to the likes of our office or group activities that are happening in London because of where they're based. And so there's the option to join virtually as well. To illustrate this point, we just came up with a case study of a young person that's completely made up. But let's say Alex had sporadic contact with social services throughout their teenage years. They were placed in an inadequate housing placement, which had a negative impact on their mental well-being. And they would like to learn the skills and tools to campaign for change so that others don't face the same issues, and they can commit to one meeting a month and are interested in joining the steering group. So Alex would be a prime example of a young person that could join the campaign. They don't, although they maybe were offered housing, it was inadequate and not suitable for their needs. So that would be deemed as a housing issue. So that's just one example of the type of young person. But as I said, we're well aware that these terms and definitions are often very complex and loosely defined. So we're up for being adaptable and flexible to working with young people who identify as having these issues. What is youth campaigning at CRAE then? So the young people themselves will be supported to identify key issues that they feel needs to change, and these will form the campaign priorities and guide the action of the campaign. So while we have an awareness from our policy team as to what some of the policy priorities may be to impact change in this area, this is very much a youth-led campaign. So the young people themselves will, through sharing their experience, reflecting on their own lived experience, and being supported to journey through that and see where change may have been useful for them. They will be the ones to lead what those campaign priorities look like, to be reflective of their shared experiences. Campaigners will have the opportunity to engage in skills-based training on policy, communications and media, the law and their rights and entitlements, and campaigning itself. So we're a multidisciplinary team within CRAE and Just for Kids. We have a legal team, a policy team, an advocacy team, a comms and media officer, and a participation team. So the young people will benefit from expertise and training from all of our colleagues. We've actually been running a campaign at Just for Kids Law for the past 3 years on school exclusions, and that's what some of the images around the screen are at the minute, just illustrating some of the things that these young people have done in leading the campaign to bring about change in the education system and school exclusions. And some examples of that, campaigners can use their experience and insights to influence policy and practice by lobbying local councils, Parliament, creating multimedia projects, speaking to media, publishing blogs, educating their peers on their rights, or whatever they choose. So it's quite difficult to define what the campaign will actually be, because it'll be led by the young people, but these are just some examples of the training and the opportunities that the young people will be presented with. Now, just as a way of kind of lightening the mood and asking for a bit of your participation, thought it might be fun to kind of pick your ideal tea and toast combo. So by just putting into the chat if you are, what number of toast you would ideally pick, and what letter of tea you would ideally pick. We'll get to know each other a little bit more by seeing what our ideal combo is. Okay, we've got number 3 for toast and B for tea. Yeah, that looks pretty Goldilocks, doesn't it? And we've got a 4. Oh, pretty well done toast there, yeah. And a D, a bit more of a milky tea. Very good, thank you. Tea and toast is obviously offered on the campaign as well to the young people, and and something that yeah, something that we use in a way of getting to know each other a little bit more. 1 for toast and A for tea. Wow, so barely toasted at all, and then hardly any milk at all too. Great. Thank you for participating in that. I just like to live up to the Irish stereotype of being fixated on tea and toast. Okay, so more about the campaign. Some of the benefits and supports to young people. So we're aware that, you know, young people who have had these lived experience may well have barriers to participating, and we're really keen to put support in place to help them overcome those barriers. And we're adaptable in what that support looks like. But some of the basics that will be offered: travel costs to when there's any in-person events or group activities, internet connection costs for any time that we meet virtually online, refreshments. You can see here we've got a lovely video of pizza. That's been the meal of choice for the school exclusion campaigners. Group activities, we're well aware that in order for a campaign to be a success, a real value that adds to that is for the young people to feel complete as a group and to create a safe space together with their peers who have lived experience. So there very much be a youth work approach brought to the campaign, which will include group activities, training all together, and a person-centered approach to all of that. And as already mentioned, skills-based training will be provided as well. For young people who have childcare costs, we really want this to be an inclusive campaign for all. And so we will work with the young person where we can and budget permitting to hopefully be able to provide some type of childcare provision for them to engage on the campaign as well. Some of the benefits for young people: so the skills-based training will be something that's offered pretty early on in the creation of the campaign. Shared experiences with their peers, and we've seen that to be of real value for the school exclusion campaign for young people who often feel isolated in their experience, and that kind of feeling of, is it only me that's going through this, or might this be my fault because of the system failings that they have experienced. There has been great value whenever these young people come together and share that experience. There's absolutely no pressure for young people to share their experience either, by the way, but there is an opportunity to, at once a safe environment is created amongst them. And there's great power in that for young people to see that actually it's not only me that is going through this, and it's not actually my fault. It's the systematic failing that has led to this. Young people have opportunities to speak truth to power. They'll get references. I'll be working closely with the young people, but also other colleagues within Just for Kids Law, and depending on where the ambition of the young person is and where they want to head to in the future, they could have exposure to other opportunities within our organisation as well, such as work experience. We have an internal ambassadors group who influence the governance and the running the operations of our organisation. So there's much more opportunities that the young people will be opened up to. Certificates for their participation, and one-to-one support as well. Different options for engagement. So the steering group are the cohort of young people who will actually drive the campaign. They'll decide the campaign priorities, and they'll respond to opportunities as they come in, and they'll seek opportunities with my support for influencing change in policy and practice. So this is probably the highest commitment level in terms of participation. We ask that young people are able to commit to one meeting a month. We're adaptable if that happens virtually or in person, depending on the needs and wants of the group, who we haven't yet met, so we don't know. But also we understand that life happens, and just through communication, if there's 1 month that a young person can't attend, but they still want to be involved, you know, all of that is totally understandable. There's then the subgroup or project participation, and this would be young people joining just for a set project opportunity or influence opportunity. So for example, we had a cohort of young people who wanted to influence the care review last year, and so they met together for 3 sessions, and then they met with the care review panel and the team that were working on the care review to have influence on that piece of work. And then there was some broader communication and media pieces that the young people decided to do after that. But that was for a set time, and the young people knew that that was the commitment that they were given to have influence in that way. And then there's one-to-one influence as well. So we completely understand that group work isn't for everyone. For some young people, meeting with their peers may be quite overwhelming or daunting. And so they can meet with me in a one-to-one capacity and still have influence. I can bring opportunities to young people in that one-to-one setting, and capture their experiences, their insights, their passions, and the influence that they would like to have, and then bring that back either to the larger group or directly to the opportunity of influence as well. So there's many levels, and it's not to say that a young person just picks one and then sticks to it. You know, maybe a young person will start off with some one-to-one contact while the suss me out and the organization and the campaign, and then maybe eventually work towards a subgroup or steering group commitment, or not. So we're very flexible in how young people participate. I'm going to hand over now to Elsa, who's going to talk us through a little bit on what the policy team have been doing in this area so far.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michaela. So yeah, this is an area of work that the policy teams sort of have been working on for a while. And so the idea is that the youth-led campaign would run alongside this to kind of feed into some of the work that we've done and build on it and take it in new directions. So some of the things that we initially identified around homeless 16 and 17-year-olds often not receiving the correct legal status of being looked after. So we have made calls to the government to ensure all homeless under 18s receive support as a looked after child. We've also found that care leavers are often found to be intentionally homeless, especially in cases even where the young person has just fallen behind on their rent and ends up getting evicted. So we have made calls for the government to remove the test of intentional homelessness for all care leavers up to the age of 25. And finally, we've looked at care leavers who are over the age of 21, who don't automatically have priority needs, and that means that they actually have to prove they're vulnerable in order to receive that support for housing. And so we have called for the government to extend priority needs to include all care leavers under the age of 25. So as I've said, this isn't an exhaustive list of some of the issues that young people in care or care leavers have experienced, but this is just where some of our initial research has taken us and what we have called for in the last year or so. And the next slide, I think, should highlight some, just a few bits of work that we have done so far. So to start with, we have published a report revealing how hundreds of vulnerable children facing homelessness are being left to fend for themselves without support. So that's looking at homeless 16 and 17-year-olds and unregulated accommodation. And we've also worked with young people. I know Michaela mentioned this, work with young people and support them to engage directly with the independent review of children's social care. And that will be a big bit of work that will be coming up later this year when they've published the final report. That should be later this late spring, summer, and we're really keen for the young people in this campaign to be as involved in that as possible. And we've also supported campaigners to meet with the Children's Minister and the Rough Sleeping and Housing Minister to speak on the issues that young care leavers face when trying to access housing. And one of those campaigners has written a really brilliant blog just reflecting on that experience and what it meant to them. So that's just a little bit of a screenshot of some of the things that we've been doing and some of the types of work that the young people in this campaign can be involved in. I'll hand back to you, Michaela.
Brilliant, thank you, Elsa. So a rough timeline of what we're planning now for the next couple of months as we meet young people and welcome them on the campaign. April and May will be us meeting with young people individually. Young people have an opportunity to work on their own personal development plan, which will outline what they want to get as part of this campaign, and that will help me to source opportunities for them, and also will work as a good guidance for them to kind of check in on their own personal development as well throughout. Towards the end of May, we're going to have a training weekend where we'll welcome young people to skills-based training delivered by some of the experts we have in Just for Kids and CRAE that I mentioned earlier, and also fun group activities for the young people to meet each other, to get to know each other, to create that safe space and that group formation that we're really keen on creating early on in this campaign. Through June and July, the group will work together to identify what their campaign priorities actually are. Having had the training on campaigning, on how power works, on how these structures work, on how we influence change, on what our policy team have been doing, on what our legal rights and entitlements are, on how we communicate what our campaign asks are. The young people then will be in a position where they'll be ready, hopefully, to identify what those campaign priorities are, alongside my support, of course. And as Elsa mentioned, we're expecting that there'll be opportunity to have a response to the government's response to the CRAE review recommendations, and what the government plans to do next with that. So that will be an opportunity for direct influence into a live piece of work, which is happening, and which some young people have already started engaging in last year in the initial stages of the CRAE review. And then beyond that, it's a very much youth-led piece, so it's completely up to the young people really and where they take it. With our support, it's not a blank canvas that we're going to hand to the young people and say good luck. Like we'll be with them every step of the way, but it's a great opportunity for them to create something that's completely youth-led and reflective of their own experiences, their insights, their passion, and where they have identified the change needs to happen. So in terms of next steps, we're holding a drop-in session in April for young people, and staff are more than welcome to join as well with young people here at Just for Kids Law Office, which is in the Angel area, and that's our full address, but I can give directions and more information on that. These are our contact details of myself and Elsa, and we would be delighted to hear from staff that maybe have more questions in this area, or young people directly as well. I can also attend organisations. I can go out and visit people in their own contexts, and we're very much aware as well that for a lot of young people this is a big ask to build a new relationship with a whole new organisation and staff, and even the idea of campaigning sometimes might feel a bit overwhelming for young people. So we're really keen to break down those barriers and actually discuss what campaigning could be and what that would mean for young people. So I'm happy to do that in any setting that the young people feel comfortable in. And for now, if we just open it up, if anybody has any questions at all at the minute, we'd be delighted to answer.
Hiya. Absolutely fabulous presentation, and I'm glad that it looks like you have really thought about working with policy, the asks that policy may come with, or the kind of pieces of work that campaigning may come with policy for young people. And you mentioned that you're youth centered within that too. I just want to hear maybe a little bit more about how you remain youth-centered, and how a young person with, the criteria that you've said, that they have lived experience of care and housing, how that they can participate without sharing their lived experience, or maybe understanding their lived experience a little bit more, just how that is approached a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great point. I think, like, in terms of our approach and using that youth work approach, we're very much person centered, and we will be working at the pace of the young person. And this is not at all a prescribed campaign, that we know the activities and we want the young person to sign up to. We're keen to meet a wide range of young people with a diverse range of experiences and needs and wants and hopes for this campaign too. And we will meet the young person where they're at in terms of providing support to overcome any barriers that they may have to participation, and being adaptable in what that offer looks like as well, so that it does suit the needs of the young person. We're also well aware that for young people who are currently experiencing if they're actively experiencing housing issues or homelessness, campaigning may not be a priority right now. We're well aware of that. There's basic needs that need to be met. And we do have a team here as well, it should be said, that offer legal representation and advocacy support. That's not something that this campaign necessarily offers, but it is an opportunity for referrals to be made internally so that young people receive that support alongside having influence to the campaign. And we do believe that these young people who are actively experiencing this or maybe recently have are the best people to lead that change, and the systems just haven't been designed to allow that to happen. So we're really keen to create a new system here, a new way of young people having to manage what could which could be a chaotic situation at the minute, but also with the adequate support that they can still have influence within this system to create change. So I think remaining person centered and offering the support to the young person in whatever way that appears to be. They definitely don't have to share their lived experience, absolutely not. This is not an extractive campaign at all. And we value that young people's insights and their opinions on things carry weight, regardless if they say, I know this because I experienced X, Y, and Z. That doesn't matter. It's not something that is required by any means at all. And young people are valued as experts by experience. So when we ask their opinion on something, we're asking that from an expert's perspective, and they don't need to prove how they're an expert, if that makes sense. We know that as being part of this campaign, that's what they are, and we very much protect the identity and the obviously the safety of the young people as well. And there will be opportunity for young people to still have influence and remain anonymous throughout this whole campaign. There's no there can be that option that nobody ever knows who these young people are, but they're driving something that's amazing, and that's why we have the support of CRAE and of Just for Kids Law to whenever needed to be that sort of face of the campaign, but still directed by the young people behind the scenes. So there's many ways that young people can be involved without having to share their own experiences.
That's really helpful to know. And it sounds like, you know, you're well equipped and you've got that experience of working with young people with all those varied experiences and asks and things like that through other campaigning work. Yeah, sounds really good.
Thank you. Thanks for your question.
Sorry, can I just ask, how do you get in contact with young people in order to be part of the campaign? Is it through referrals or just kind of voluntary?
Yeah. So we're keen to meet young people external to Just for Kids Law. So this offer of joining the campaign is for young people who are already involved in Just for Kids Law and CRAE. It's open for them, but also to those who have no relationship with the organisation yet. And that's where this kind of outreach work that we're doing over these next couple of months comes into play. We're keen to meet new organisations, new young people maybe who aren't attached to any organisation, you know, and whenever we look at a campaign work and young people leading it and where change needs to happen, you know, we really need to look at those young people who are on the margins completely, and how we can communicate with them and tell them that this opportunity is there for them. So yeah, through our own contacts with other organisations, through meeting new organisations, and through just trying to be visible and bringing this opportunity to young people that may not know that it's there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Great stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining us and for listening. Sorry that it was a lot of talking. It was kind of all the information that we had to put out there. We can be contacted on these details at any time for follow-up questions or to speak about a specific young person that you may have in mind. And please do share that on Thursday, the 14th of April, we're going to be having a youth-friendly space here at Just for Kids Law. It is going to be youth-friendly. There's going to be games being played. There's going to be other young people who are already part of our organisation that are keen to meet new young people as well. But also there'll be kind of quieter spaces for young people who are maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed of engaging with peers. And there'll be loads of information about signing up to the campaign, or even just more information on what the campaign could look like. So please do share this with any of the young people that you might be working with, and colleagues alike as well. We're keen to meet staff, and we'll have some pizza and yeah, some games, and it'll be a good opportunity to see our offices as well. So hopefully you can join us then.
Sounds great.
Great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care and have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.